I guess I just want you to know that children, if they're raised a certain way to believe in their extraordinariness, that they can do anything. And this little girl just blew my wife and I and the rest of the family away with something that she did. In fact, I put her little essay in Spiritual Solution to Every Problem. And I'd like you to introduce you to her, this little persistent child who insisted on getting here. Come on up, Seiji. This is my baby. Isn't she beautiful?
Thank you.
So tell them what happened, honey.
Okay.
What's this?
I'm a little nervous. There's a lot of people in here. Okay. So basically, I was 5 years old, and I had developed a rash of bumps on my face. And at first, it was just a rash, not a big deal. But eventually, after a couple weeks, it wasn't going away. So my parents took me to the doctor. And they gave me the diagnosis of flatwarts, which I hated the name of, so I called them my bumps. But I had flatwarts, and the doctor said that they would go away eventually. Like, the treatments were harsh, the medications were harsh, and that they really should go away. But, months go by, they're still not going away. They're really just getting worse. You couldn't see them so much as you could feel them, but I didn't like it. So my parents took me back to the doctor. I think I had them for a total of like 2 years.
Oh, yeah. And they were getting worse and worse, and you could see them, especially in the sunlight.
Well, all right. Apparently you could see them. But,
excuse me, this is your father speaking here. You don't dismiss me with all right and then just go on.
Sorry. So we went back to a doctor in Hawaii, because that's where we would spend our summers. And we went back to the doctor there, and this was after years of them not going away and people just telling me that they would. And the doctor said, all right, it's been a few years, and your options really come down to, we can burn them off, which will be painful, and you'll have scars for a few years. And he said, or you can take an oral medication that will cause your face to turn red, and it will peel, and you have to stay out of the sun and all this. And we're in Hawaii, and I was like, no, that's not an option. So and then my parents were talking to him, and they're like, we're not going to do either of those. She's only 5 years old. There's got to be something else. And then my parents just looked at me and said that, maybe you can just heal yourself. Maybe you can talk to your bumps and make them go away. So as a 5-year-old, my parents telling me that, I took it very literally, and I was like, okay, that's the best option out of those three for sure. So. So I went home that night. We went back. We were in Hawaii, and we were me and all my siblings sharing a room. So that night I got in my air mattress bed on the floor and pulled the covers over my head. And apparently I used a flashlight.
Right.
I don't remember the flashlight, but and I got under my bed and under the covers, and I talked to my bumps for just for like 10 minutes before I went to bed. And then after doing that for 3 nights, then on the 4th night I got in bed to do it, and I reached up and I touched my face, and I was, oh my God, it's smooth. They're completely gone. So I jumped out of bed, I ran into my parents' bedroom and jumped in their bed, and they were reading, and I was like, you guys, they're gone. And I jumped, they felt my face, they were like, oh my God, they are gone. Like, no one could believe it. It was just 3 nights later when these had gotten to their worst point. They were all over my face. And then my dad asked me, what did you say to them? And I was embarrassed. I didn't want to tell them. I was like, I'm not telling. It's a secret, whatever. So, for about 5 more years, at first I'm being asked pretty much every hour, what did you say? All my siblings are asking me. I'm like, not telling. It's a secret. And then, eventually they kind of gave up and stopped asking me. But just, when I was like, not that long ago, probably when I like 4 or 5 years ago, I came up again, and I was like, okay, I'll tell you guys now. I'm a lot more mature. I'm ready to tell you. And I told my dad that I really just sent them love, and in a child's voice, but I really just told my bumps, I said, I love you, and I appreciate you and what you're here for, but we can't be together anymore, and and you have to leave. And I thank you. And I pictured them falling off my face as I remember the image of, I pictured myself walking down the sidewalk and them just falling off and having clear skin, and I imagined what it would feel like to have smooth skin on my face and so on. So, and then I think you told the dermatologist that.
Dr. Kenny Mallett, he's a dermatologist. He's a good friend of mine. And he broke down, he was sobbing when I told him what she had told him, that I just said, I love you, but it's time for us to depart ways.
Yeah. So, but I think that, as an adult, sometimes we can't do, you want something so badly, but you don't manifest it into your life because, like, as a child, I knew that it was going to work. I knew that talking to my bumps was going to make them go away because my parents had told me that it would, and I believed them. And that was enough of, a source for me to say, these are going to go away. When I spoke to them at night, there was no doubt in my mind that it wasn't going to work. There was no fear that I was going to be going back to the doctor. I just said, this was the third medication option, So, and I think as adults, sometimes we want something so badly that that we forget that you want it so badly that you fear that you won't have it. And then with that fear, you can't manifest something that way. You have to just know, and that's what I learned from myself as a 5-year-old, that sometimes today I'll want something so badly, but it's not working, and it's not working the way I want it to. But you remember the way you were as a child when you would just believe your parents and you knew that it would work so that it would, if that makes sense.
It does, Sage. That's very great. Thank you, baby.